do a yearly rewatch of Smash every single year, and I'm going to take you through how we were bamboozled by NBC. And this is part one. Episode one was the pilot episode, and if you watched it live like I did, then you saw this episode months before the rest of the series premiered. But with this being a pilot episode, we're introduced to everybody very quickly and sort of in this very expository way so that you can kind of like know who everybody is. And the very first shot of Katharine McPhee is of her on stage in this super unhinged outfit singing Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And you're like, oh, she does have a beautiful voice and everything, but then we find out she's actually not on stage. She's at an audition and she gets cut off by this like shitty director answering a phone in the middle of her audition. Then as she's running out, we see that Ivy Lynn is right here at the same audition. So they're setting up that these two are just always in competition with each other. How very early 2000s of them. And I didn't take a picture of it, but then like Ivy Lynn goes into the audition and just dominates the room. Like she's super hot. She takes off her leather jacket. She's like, do you want to start with the up-tempo or the ballad? Somebody in my comments from the last video was like, oh, I love how they tried to make Megan Hilty a villain. And I totally agree that the only way that they could make this a feasible competition between these two women was to turn Megan Hilty into a villain so that Katharine McPhee could be like the sweet angel that just doesn't deserve this. She deserves the lead because she's such a sweet angel. Don't worry, I'm going to talk about it. After the audition scene, we meet Julia and Tom, who are like this musical writing team. Julia writes the book, Tom writes the music. I will also be demonstrating how Julia is the true villain of the entire series. I stand by that. You'll be with me on this, trust me. Because we also meet Tom's new assistant, Ellis, who like we just see as an eager beaver. He just seems really eager to help out Tom. He like made him mac and cheese because he just got home from a flight and like reorganized his kitchen. This has really upset Julia. I mean, she hates him on sight, but he was reading a book about Marilyn and he's like, I think Marilyn Monroe would make a great musical. But they're both like, oh no, absolutely not. Everybody's doing Marilyn. It's like way too hot right now. It's just a trend. But then they get to like bouncing ideas off each other and they remember that Marilyn was married to Joe DiMaggio and then they can write a baseball number, which is all very exciting. I don't know if I said this because I just keep calling her Katharine McPhee, but she plays Karen Cartwright. Karen. I can't even. But in this scene, we meet her boyfriend, whose name is Dev. He is gorgeous. And he's so supportive of her career. But in this scene, which is, I can't even. He's talking about how she didn't get the audition, you know, where the director picked up a phone call in the middle of the audition. Her agent tells her that she wasn't sexy enough. And she says, I don't understand why I have to be sexy all the time. And then she says, what a thing to say. I don't understand why I have to be sexy all the time. I wish I was fat. Villain behavior. Now we're at home with Julia. She's with her husband and her son. And we find out in this scene that they are actually trying to adopt another child. I think that she's Chinese. I think that they're trying to adopt a Chinese baby. Tom and Julia decided that they were going to take a break from writing because she wants to focus on getting her baby from China, which I feel like is a little problematic in its own way, but let's not do that. She comes home and her husband is like, oh, we got a meeting with a social worker. And she's like, oh, isn't that kind of fast? Like she doesn't even really want it. She also just casually brings up how her and Tom were talking about writing a musical about Marilyn Monroe. And her husband's like, excuse me, you said that you were going to take a break. And then they get to bouncing ideas off each other. And her husband says the same thing, that she was married to Joe DiMaggio and they could write a baseball number. But he is very adamant that he does not want her writing right now. And then in the very next scene, she is up in the middle of the night watching a movie, laughing, full voice while her husband is asleep. It literally wakes me up. He's like, what are you watching? She's like, oh, I'm just watching a movie. Did I wake you up? Okay, now we're at the Schubert Theater where the show Heaven on Earth is playing. And we see that Tom actually knows Ivy Lynn because she is in Heaven on Earth. You see, she's actually already on Broadway. But she's super sad because she doesn't want to be in the ensemble anymore. She wants to lead. In the audition that she went up for with Karen Cartwright, well, not in the same room, but at the same audition, she didn't get it either. And she's super sad. I didn't take a picture of this, but like, one scene later, Julia's on the phone with Tom at home when they're supposed to be preparing for the social worker who's coming over to their house right now. Casually, like, Tom, just find an actress to sing for the demo. They've written a song for a demo for the show that they're not supposed to be writing. And she's not dressed. She's in her sweatpants and whatever. Her husband's like, aren't you going to get dressed for the social worker? She totally forgot. She's just such a piece of... Anyway, sure enough, they get Ivy Lynn to sing the demo and she's just awesome. Foreshadowing. Well, it's plain to see it was written for me. I just wish I could play that part. I didn't even notice that the first like 90 times I've seen this series. But yeah, Ellis is over here recording it on his phone. It's the first of many like forced villain things that Ellis does because they want us to see that like Julia wasn't wrong. There's actually something shady about him. I disagree. I don't think he was born into the darkness. I think the darkness chose him. The next thing we see is that it's on YouTube or Lens, because who wants to pay royalties? And once they see it, Tom and Julia are furious. They know that like some bloggers are going to get a hold of it and they fire Ellis. But he comes back like 2 scenes later and he gets rehired, just apologizes. But it's not just like critics and bloggers that saw the YouTube video because Karen Cartwright saw the video. And isn't that cute? She's learned the music all by herself. And now Tom's been working on the baseball number. Then we meet Elaine, who is a Broadway producer, but mainly because her husband is a Broadway producer. She wants to be out on her own, but it's really hard because her husband is tying up all of their money. This moment is very expository. Here we are setting up Eileen as the good person and Jerry is the bad person, but I hate them both because they're one percenters. The next thing that happens is completely lightning speed. I mean, not that this entire series isn't completely lightning speed, but the very next thing that happens is Eileen is taking a meeting with Tom and Julia because she wants to produce the show. Like, they've written a song that got released on YouTube, and then, you know, she doesn't know that they're working on the baseball number. Eileen wants to hire Derek Wills, who is not only a director, but also a choreographer. She's like, oh, he's brilliant, he's fabulous, but he's not a very good guy. This is another thing that this series does that I don't like. I mean, he is a disgusting person. Like, he is clearly the most Harvey Weinsteiniest Harvey Weinstein that there ever Harvey Weinstein, but the series plays him off as like this lovable oaf. I can't. So now we're at the first rehearsal of a song from the show. It's really an audition for Derek Wills to prove that like he's going to do a great job with the show, right? And who do they call in but Ivy Lynn, who would be perfect for the role of Marilyn. This is something that's really fun that they do with the series. They'll like take a scene from rehearsal and it'll transition into it being the real show on stage. Look at what a star she is. She is Marilyn. Why are you messing with me? So now they're holding auditions for the show, right? Tom is even like, I don't understand why we're doing this. Why don't we just offer the part to Ivy? They don't. They have this open call and it's really embarrassing. It's just like secondhand embarrassment because everybody came dressed like Marilyn. Except for Ivy Lynn, who came in dressed like this. What? What? I know that I'm super outdated. Like, I know that people aren't wearing like a 3-piece suit to interviews anymore, right? I've seen people go super casual to their auditions, but that is insane. What she is wearing is insane. This unflattering shirt that makes her look pregnant, these flats, the pants are too big. She has an agent, right? Like somebody, oh my God. But anyway, she does have a good audition. She sings Beautiful by Christina Aguilera, which I also think is a very interesting choice for this call. But obviously, Derek Wills is smitten with her, and Ellis also is smitten with her. Why is he in the room? Why is he in the room? Remember how I said that Derek Wills is the Harvey Weinstein of the series? A couple of scenes later, Derek Wills invites Karen Cartwright over to his apartment, and she goes. You see what I'm saying? Immediately pouring alcohol. And then he chastises her for the way that she's dressed. He's like, Marilyn would never come to a director's house at 10:30 at night dressed like that. In no uncertain terms. He absolutely propositions her. He says he wants to see her be sexy. Oh my God. She obliges. She puts on his shirt and she comes out and sings Happy Birthday, Mr. President. And then she goes to kiss him and then she's like, that's not going to happen. And then she leaves. I don't know. The whole moment is very strange. It's very strange. Then the episode ends with both of these women going to their callback for Marilyn with this iconic song. Let Me Be Your Star. Iconic. I know that I'm biased, but even in the very first episode, it seems so clear to me that they're not going to cast Karen Cartwright. Wouldn't be logical. It just doesn't make sense. Now, to be clear, they want us to believe that Ivy Lynn is the villain of the series. She's just a victim of all of the other villains of the series, like Julia and this motherfucker. Nasty ass. That's your introduction. Meet me at part 2.